Shalom, I'm Rav Leo, and I'm here to transform your day. Today's topic is kindness and self-interest. There seems to be an idea in society that the ultimate form of kindness is an altruistic act, an act in which one expects no form of payback whatsoever. And yet there's a fascinating book by Professor Robert Putnam of Harvard University called Bowling Alone, in which he talks about the breakdown of American society over the past 50 years. And in it, he laments the breakdown of acts of reciprocity, defined as short-term altruism and long-term self-interest. What does he mean? He means that if people do acts of reciprocity where they expect some sort of payback, acts of kindness where they create a better community for themselves and for others, then ultimately that has a knock-on impact that actually improves their lives as well as the lives of others. And therefore, altruism by itself is not enough, but actually reciprocity is a much more of a chain reaction, is much more beneficial to one and to society. Well, what does the Torah have to say about this? It's fascinating to know that the ultimate act of kindness in the Torah is actually when Jacob comes to his son Joseph, who's actually viceroy of the whole of Egypt. Just when Jacob is on his deathbed, and he says to him, Joseph, my son, please promise me with truth and kindness, with true kindness, to bury me in Israel. A tough request for the king of Egypt to bury his father in a foreign country, and yet Joseph agrees, and we see this act of true kindness is achieved. However, is it altruistic? Well, just a couple of chapters later, we note that Joseph himself finds himself on his deathbed, and he makes a request, his last request to his brothers, which is, please promise that when you leave Egypt in 200 years' time after the period of slavery, you will carry my coffin, my bones out of Egypt and take me to be buried in Israel. And so we see even Joseph's great act of kindness to his dying father, which apparently can have no form of payback, is paid back indirectly by his brothers later on. And what about Abraham, the very picture of kindness in the Torah, and the moment that we all remember of Abraham sitting in the heat of the day outside his tent, welcoming guests into his tent on the third day after his Brit Milah when he's in tremendous pain, the most incredible act of kindness. Altruistic? Well, according to our rabbis, these three men turn out to be three angels, and one of them is there to help heal Abraham. One of them is there to tell him about his wife's impending pregnancy, and therefore there seems to be some sort of payback even to Abraham. And what about God? God perhaps must be the kindness of all, and yet the rabbis say God is kind and merciful, and so must we be too. In other words, even God's acts of kindness and mercy, perhaps, are not totally altruistic, because there is an expectation from God that we will mimic him and become like him and become kind and merciful as well. And so we see that perhaps the ultimate form of kindness is not necessarily altruistic, but actually when there is a little bit of long-term self-interest, that we see that if we behave in this particular way, perhaps others will behave in that way to us, and that will improve our lives and the life of the community in which we live. Have a great day.